And a very big hello to everybody and welcome to our webinar here on Making Tax Digital. We are delighted to have Mark Macklin here with us. Hello Mark, how are you doing? Are you well?
I'm good morning, how are you?
Very good. I'm super actually.
Good.
Even though it's early in the morning, I don't mind. It's okay. We have coffee, all is well. Yeah. Mark is with Moore Stephens. Now Moore Stephens is, actually I won't steal your thunder too much, but just to say that we've been working with the guys in Moore Stephens for quite a bit of time, and we highly recommend their services, and their advice has always been absolutely excellent, which is why we twisted your arm to do this. So you're going to talk to us about making tax digital, which is really, I guess, a big topic at the moment, really, isn't it, Mark?
Yes, it is. It's something that's coming, and it's something that a lot of people are not aware of yet.
A lot of people are not aware of, that is for sure. We are first-hand experience on that. Yeah. So, okay, so can you generally just, what are we going to talk about? Just, I guess, how to bring your company online. I guess it's probably talking a lot about automation and things like that, is it?
Yeah, what we're going to cover today is obviously what making tax digital is. We refer to it as MTD. What the timeline is, what the expectations are from HMRC, what they're likely to receive, and how Moore Stephens and automation can definitely help the business.
Okay, so really this is very, very important, and it affects every single company in the UK, really.
It'll affect everyone that's VAT registered over the VAT threshold.
Right.
You're going to be caught by this.
We're not going to be caught by it. We're going to
have
comply to it.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, so shall we just crack on then and move forward? So let's do that then.
Let's go.
Okay.
So here's the agenda. So this is what we're going to cover. As I mentioned, obviously, what is MTD, the timeline, and what HMRC will receive from you.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll talk about compatible software. So what kind of software that HMRC expect. They have a list of software suppliers which they've been working with, and we can talk about that.
So does that mean you can't use other suppliers?
Yeah, there are certain ones that are government that have been approved by HMRC. There are others that are yet to hit that register yet. So
hang on a second, there's tons of accountancy software out there. Are you telling me that you are suddenly not going to be able to use those software packages?
Yeah, that's very true. There are going to be some that are not going to be compliant. And clients and businesses are going to have to...
What?
Businesses are going to have to think about how they migrate from their existing desktop packages, because some desktop packages won't be compliant.
But that just basically cuts out many, many businesses.
Yeah. So we can talk about that. We can talk about how they then move from what they have at the present onto being digitally compliant. So that can be through APIs and digital platforms, bridging software, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And we can look at the solutions about how we then migrate clients and how we can assist them.
Okay, all right, well,
yeah.
There's a lot in there.
It's a lot of education.
So stay tuned in here, and I guess take notes. Oh, by the way, I will be asking questions as we go through, but as usual, you can email in some questions to Mark. Are your contact details on this one? Okay, so they're on the end of that. So when you get to the end, we'll have all of those.
Yep.
If you get stuck on that, just give us an email as well, and we'll be able to pass it over to Mark. Okay, so we'll get that done. Don't worry, we'll have you sorted out. So we have Alman sitting in the background here. So yes, Alman is also available. What is your email address, Alman?
alman.nerwal@moorstephens.com.
It's on the end of the slide.
It's on the end of the slide, so you can get Alman as well. So there are two people that you can email on this one. All right, so let's crack on then.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's just a bit more about Moore Stephens.
Okay.
And this is what we do. So at the moment, like I say, we are a UK firm, but we are a global firm as well. We have a UK network of over 2,000 offices and partners and staff.
Okay.
Spread all around the network, really. So we operate Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, obviously England. And we operate in 112 countries as well.
Okay.
So yeah, we are international and local.
Okay, well, very good, particularly for people importing, exporting, that type of thing.
But also for the people that are out in the country that are not near to London. Everyone probably thinks London, but we're not. We've got offices all around
across the UK. So wherever you're hearing or listening to this, there's Moore Stephens close to you.
Yeah, and there'll be Moore Stephens advisors willing to help.
There you are. Okay, sorted no matter what.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is obviously what we're going to try and cover today, about what's in store, so about understanding making tax digital, what it means for your organisation and your business, and the steps that you can take to comply.
Okay, fabulous.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. So what is MTD? Making Tax Digital. It basically requires all businesses to then have what we consider functional compatible software. So their records have to be digital.
Okay.
Okay. So what that means is obviously that there has to be a digital link between the starting point of your sales or your purchase all the way through to what gets submitted to HMRC.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. And this is what they described as their digital journey. Other European countries are looking at it. Some have already done it. Sort of in Holland, places like that, they already do this kind of thing. Here, we're trying to sort of implement it, and it's going to happen. So this is a long step, a long transition. So they're going to be looking. That is the first one they've tried, and it's the one that they're doing now. But it will then roll into personal tax and business tax.
Okay. So essentially everything is just basically going digital.
Yeah.
And I guess okay, so at the beginning, because people are somewhat disorganized, let's be honest, about their financials in a lot of cases, particularly the smaller type of businesses. So I suppose in a way, although this can be a little bit scary because there's a lot to learn in here,
Yep.
it's actually, I guess, in a way quite good, because it's going to force people to be organized with their finances.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to have to keep up to date with what's going on. It'll just over time become business as normal.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds scary, and we'll come on to it's not as scary as it looks,
Okay.
but it does encourage businesses to actually look at what they do and try and work out, can they do things smarter,
Okay.
work more efficiently, and maybe automate a little bit easier.
Okay, and automation is all the key. I mean, we talk about it all the time,
Yep.
is to have automation. And usually the biggest problem is that people don't have the information to hand. But if they have to do it every month in order to comply with HMRC for VAT and then corporation tax and whatever else,
Yep.
then that's going to make everybody's life better in the long run, because
Yeah.
the management information will be there, won't it?
Exactly, everything, and this is where we come on to. This comes on to real-time information being available to clients
Okay.
and businesses when they need it.
Okay, well, not a bad thing, really.
No.
I mean, that's what we try and get everybody to do.
Exactly.
All right, let's
So-
always look at the positive spin on these things.
So yeah, so they say it's going to apply to everybody that's over the VAT threshold. You will have to be MTD compliant. There are some exceptions, some religious organisations and that kind of thing. So they're very, very few.
Okay,
But there are some exceptions to the rule.
okay, very good.
But
okay,
predominantly, most.
Oh, right. Very few of us are in that. Okay,
Yes.
so, okay, ready to move on?
Yep,
Okay.
let's go. So here's just a brief timeline. This is what where we are, or where we started and where we're going to finish. So April 2018 is when the VAT pilot was launched by HMRC, and they worked with a number of software companies to start this sort of implementation, to work out how it was going to work and what software companies would be compliant.
Okay.
So we're at a stage now where there are over 30 software houses that have their accounting software on the list with HMRC, and it's on their provider list.
Okay.
But there are others that are going to come board very
Okay.
quickly.
And so is it easy, because just I know a lot of companies that have accountancy software, so
Yep.
is that an easy journey for them to get literally on the PSL for HMRC?
Yes, yeah.
It is. Okay.
It is. They obviously have to go through a testing program and that kind of thing. And that's what they started in April. September 18 this year, they started working with the providers, but with live client data. So they were using test data before. They're now starting to look at using live data, live clients, and testing to make sure it works. Moore Stephens, we're working with a couple of software providers, and we'll be testing our clients live as well, just to make sure that we cover off everything and there aren't going to be any hiccups come the 1st of April when it all goes live.
When it all goes live.
So
Okay.
1st of April 2019 is when it all starts. So if your VAT return period is after the 1st of April, you're going to have to comply.
Well, it will be eventually, right?
Yeah. Yeah, again, whether it's 30th of April, 31st of May, you're going to have to.
It will eventually. Okay, so you may have an extra month or two depending on when you
Yes.
file, but within 3 months, everybody's going to be on the system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then obviously by 2020, they think that they won't introduce anything else they won't introduce personal tax or business tax before April 2020.
Okay.
So this is the start.
Okay, because that's going to scare a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, particularly people of sort of like who are not tech savvy and like their pieces of paper and things like that. So.
Yeah, no, that's true. There are going to be some people there, but as we found, we talk to clients all the time that are using older software, Excel spreadsheets, and it's, again, just by talking to them, they can sort of understand it, and you can see that we can demonstrate that it's not as difficult or as daunting as it sounds.
Okay, all right, good. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
We'll move on.
Okay.
So here's just a slide that just describes what HMRC will receive. So as we mentioned, obviously that they will reply to VAT returns. There'll be no change in the VAT frequency, so your returns will still have to be filed for every 3 months.
Right.
So no changes there. And what HMRC currently receive is obviously what you post in boxes 1 to 9 using the old government gateway. That government gateway will no longer exist come the 1st of April. There will be a new government gateway that will be linked digitally. And that's where boxes 1 to 9 will need to be completed. It will be in that digital software. Okay. And we can come on to all the different aspects of that. But what HMRC will start to receive is how that is then made up. That VAT return is made up of boxes 1 to 9, but they'll be able to look at where it's coming from.
So basically much more information that they're looking at now.
Exactly, and what they're going to then start to do is obviously it then allows them to then benchmark industries and that kind of thing and get a little bit more data. So yeah, going back to more, it's having real-time information. So yeah. So that's a little bit about that.
All right.
And what we also said is obviously about functional compatible software. So what kind of things are going to have to happen? So clients at the moment that are dealing in paper, as we mentioned, they're going to need to have record and preserve documents in digital form. So a lot of like PDFs, electronic data, that kind of thing.
Which is really the way it should be anyway. I mean, look, in fairness, we've been paperless for years. And funny enough, the only people that we needed paper for were the government and banks. And other than that, everybody else was functioning just fine, just on paper. So it's, I guess, in a way, good to see that the government is catching up on this.
Again, everyone's been using online banking for a while. That's all, like I say, that's all digital. So it's now that is the next thing. And a lot of people are getting stuff in digital format. They just tend to then, by habit, print it out. There'll be no need for that. You can link everything digitally. So the idea will be that you'll receive everything in digital form and you'll be able to provide that VAT return in a digital form as well. And that's all goes to HMRC. And there are a number of options to do that. It doesn't have to be one option for digital. You can have a whole host of softwares that are linked, but again, it's linking digitally.
So whatever software you use, there must be a bridge that is able to talk to HMRC.
It has to all talk electronically. So where we talk about clients that are maybe using Excel spreadsheets, there is bridging software, there are digital links that we can talk about that will show and be compliant.
So actual providers that you know.
So again, there are options, and it's not a very, very drastic change, but we can help clients migrate. It's not a problem.
Good. All right. Sounding easier as we go along.
Not so scary anymore.
Well, no, of course not.
Okay. So obviously digital records need to be kept, and the types of records that we need to keep, you basically have to have data that sort of shows the principal name, business name, the address, the VAT numbers and all that kind of thing. That still has to be kept.
But that's all normal anyway.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing you'd expect to keep. With sales, you need to obviously keep date and time and date of supply, those kind of things. That all needs to be kept digitally as well. So again, making sure that you are to be compliant, that you have those links and you have that data available within your software or within your spreadsheets. And again, it has to be on a line-by-line basis. So again, we can sort of talk about how that is all matched digitally. But
is that sort of like reconciliations at the end, that type of thing?
But what clients and businesses won't be able to do is bulk. So you won't be able to put in turnover for the month X. What you need to be able
you need to show exactly who the turnover was.
So some clients will put in their accounting software a month, a summary. That's no longer going to be.
I guess the thing with this, and I can understand why they're doing it, is it completely cuts out the idea that you can, I suppose, be a little bit flexible with who that is, because not only do you give the data, but the people that you're supplying with are giving the data, and they, I would assume, are reconciling those two companies together as well to see if there's any discrepancies.
Exactly. So there has to be a line-by-line basis. So sales and purchases, there has to be like say the dates, the time of supply, what's being supplied, the individual VAT amounts as well. So that's what
we're talking about here is total transparency.
Totally.
Okay.
So that's where this slide sort of shows about what kind of things that need to be kept. But again, it's all common sense to a certain extent.
No, but it is common sense. It's just, I guess, like I was saying at the beginning, it just means that people can't wait till the end of the year to sort out their accounts or whatever. I mean, or at the end of the quarter. It has to be done as they go along. And I see that as a good educational system, particularly for the smaller companies that are growing up. Because one of the biggest things that we do with them, and we get our partners to do with them, is we get them to figure out their finances. I mean, most of them just look at their bank account at the end of the month. Whereas by doing this, they actually have the management information, which is what all the accountants are screaming for to have, to be able to make growth decisions moving forward, because you can't do it without that information.
That's right.
So yes, HMRC is looking for it, but actually by having this, the companies themselves are able to make those decisions much earlier.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, real-time information is going to be key for clients going forward.
Yes.
And this will definitely help them to do that, because they'll be able to see their data live, be able to sort of look at what's in their bank account, look at their trading, and it'll all be ready available, especially if you're using a lot of software.
Okay.
So sort of digital software that we have available, they can see real time.
And just a quick question here, does that then on sort of the year-end accounts, obviously there's going to, VAT account for there, but does, are they going to change the fact that, P&Ls and balance sheets are going to be more line by line as well? So do you think that's something that will come in?
Probably, maybe, yes. At the moment we don't. There are certain things that we don't know,
right.
But yeah, P&L balance sheet, they're going to be, from a client's point of view, they can then look at it more granular.
Right.
And it will definitely help them. And again, it gives them the ability to then be able to talk to the accountants, the auditors, that kind of thing. Being digital, you can be in your office, your auditor, your accountant could be in their office, and you can talk about the same data on the phone by having logins. You can log into the data, I could log into your data, and we could talk about it as we go. I'm not having to come to your premises, or you coming to me.
And so where are all the paperwork?
Exactly, and you're carrying sort of 3 boxes.
So this will
of
make
paperwork.
your life a lot easier too. Makes the life of accountants a lot easier.
Yeah, it does. It's going to make life a lot easier for a lot of people.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so again, we talked about this digital journey, as HMRC like to refer it to. So like we mentioned, that the transfer of data must be electronic. Okay, so it's the starting point of the transaction through to the VAT return. That's what they want to be able to see. Okay.
The whole thing from start to finish.
Yeah. So clear audit trail, as we sort of say on this slide here. There needs to be that clear audit trail all the way through.
Okay.
Okay. So it's fairly self-explanatory.
Very good.
Where we sort of do see software not being able to sort of do everything, there are restrictions. So if you are on a special VAT scheme, for example, partial exemptions, for example, are one of the ones that we've sort of looked at. They're not easy to do within the functional software.
Why not though?
Software at the moment isn't advanced to be able to manage certain special schemes. Okay, it's coming and it will happen eventually, but at the moment they don't have the capability. So what HMRC have said is that there is not a problem if you do your bulk of the data within the within the accounting software. You can then transfer that out into an Excel spreadsheet, make your adjustments to the VAT return that you would normally do. Those adjustments then go back into the software, and you can manually do the journals, and then that would then upload into HMRC.
Okay, so it's kind of like a bridging thing in the meantime.
Exactly. But again, what you're seeing is there is still that link. It's coming from your software into an Excel spreadsheet, which is digital. You make your adjustments, you put them back. You don't lose that audit trail.
Okay. So, but in the future, that's all going to just, because that's a lot of extra work for some people, really, isn't it?
Yes and no. Some people will be taking data out of their desktop solutions and doing it on paper or doing it on Excel anyway. So again, all you're doing is you're just replacing the desktop solution with a cloud version, doing your adjustments, and then it goes again. You've still got that digital link. Okay. The other alternative is that you can still use Excel spreadsheets and use bridging software, which then links to HMRC.
Okay.
And
do you have examples of who these bridging softwares are?
Yeah, we do have some software and we've looked at sort of various different ones. So there are a number of bridging software companies out there that have these tools available.
Okay. Because surprisingly, I'm not seeing a lot of people advertising for this.
No, and it's surprising that probably 40% of small businesses don't even know this is coming. And that's part of the reason why
I would say it's higher.
Quite possibly. But there are also clients that are sort of thinking, well, what do I do next? And how can I get from what I'm doing now to being compliant, and that's
because it's all very well to say, right, these are the new rules, but when you have no tools in order to do that, or you don't, because it takes time. I mean, if you're a small business, you could probably turn it around in about a week or so, but if you're a bigger company and you've lots of things to reconcile in here and loads of different touch points to put in, and you've loads of different offices across the country and so on and so forth, this is a big job. This is it could take 6 months or 9 months to transfer over here.
Yeah, and we are less than 6 months away. So yeah, it's something that clients and businesses need to think about, and that's why we're sort of talking to them now. We're getting the comms out. Things like this will definitely help provoke people into thinking, well, hang on a minute, I need to really think about it.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to be doing a lot more advertising of this webinar to let people know, because I can guarantee you that a lot of the people that we're dealing with aren't aware.
Yeah,
so
it's
okay.
It's going to be okay.
It will be okay. So she just gave me a pat on the back there.
Hold
she's
people's
like,
hands
it's
through
okay.
it.
Okay.
We'll be fine.
Okay. Shall we move on then?
We'll move on.
Okay.
Okay, so here's obviously what we sort of see the digital journey being for some clients. So we'll just talk about different things. So where clients are sort of basically using the likes of Xero, QuickBooks, those that are on the HMRC approved suppliers list, this is how we see the journey working. So again, they'll use their software that's cloud, everything's kept digitally. They'll use that. They'll have APIs, so the digital link and the API will link directly from those software providers into HMRC. There'll be no change. So we have a number of clients and businesses using those kind of software, so they won't see the change because they're already doing it.
Okay. I mean, well, what we say to a lot of people is that you should be automating anyway. Yep. I mean, we do our very best to get people onto platforms like that, and Xero and Sage and QuickBooks. Let's face it, they're the biggest ones. Yep. Not the only ones, but some of the biggest ones. Some of them Xero is probably our favorite on that one. Painful to set up, but once it's set up, it's a very good system because it's so good for the automation and the reporting and things like that. So we've been trying to get people up onto these systems anyway, and I guess this is just going to give them that little bit of a push, isn't it, to move faster? Yeah,
and the software capabilities is great. Like you say, Xero, QuickBooks, and what we're saying to clients is, well, if they're using online banking, for example, a lot of clients do use online banking. Online banking links into all these software.
There are people who don't use online banking.
There are people that don't use it.
Okay.
But again, we're slowly getting the message across that if you do that, then you can link it to your software. Automation.
Yeah. I guess, I was just thinking back on that, people within the trades where there's still a lot of cash transactions, that they're not online. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Okay, so I take that back. There's a good reason why people are not all online banking.
Yeah. So here we see a slide which basically sort of shows that clients that use Excel spreadsheets, for example, so they keep their sales and maintained in spreadsheets, their purchases are maintained in spreadsheets. That's fine. What they need to then consider is that they then need to have a VAT return spreadsheet, so where they can migrate the data from those two spreadsheets into one. Yeah. And then what we then say is, okay, well, that's going to work fine, but then we need to get bridging software. So there needs to be a tool that will take their data, put it into a format that HMRC will then like it to be in, and that bridging software will then push the client data through the software.
So that's sort of like you were saying, an API or an SVP or
an API.
CSV?
We can go from CSV. Our Excel spreadsheet.
I don't think a CSV is going to work very well because you can only use one sheet in a CSV. So
again, we can sort of work around it, get it out of the desktop solution. So if a client's taking it in an old system that's maybe a CRM system or something like that, that they're pulling all their transactional data from, that will come from a CSV into an Excel. You then produce your VAT return on that Excel spreadsheet, and then that's when the bridging software will be required.
So it basically just goes and takes that data and then uploads it for you. Yeah. So that what you're really saying is you cannot no longer go onto HMRC and tap these things in yourself.
Again, the box 1 to 9 format and the way you do it now, that won't apply.
It won't apply.
No.
Okay. No. All right.
So this is how some of our clients are doing it at the moment, and we're saying, right, okay, well, this is how we need to do it going forward, and come 1st of April we're going to need to use bridging software. We're going to need to consider how you then get from your source data all the way through.
And can you just mention just some of the names of some of the bridging software that you're talking about, because it really, I guess, applies to this slide.
Well, again, at the moment there are a number. So there are, again, some of the big ones. Qubio have a bridging software. AlphaTax have bridging software. There are a number of them out there at the moment.
And are they going to add a lot of costs onto people's software? Because I personally have a bit of a bugbear as to how much software actually costs, and this is like another one on top of it.
Yeah. No, at the moment, costs, we don't have full figures of what the costs are all going to be yet, because again, it's still being tested in some areas, so there aren't the full breakdown of costs just yet.
Okay.
So yeah.
More things for you to account for.
Exactly.
On your
Yes.
spreadsheet.
It's definitely something
or
to consider.
Or your zero. Seeing as we're getting off spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if we can get off spreadsheets, it's much better.
Much better.
Much better.
Okay. Very good.
So yeah, so here we have a case study for a client that we that currently uses was on Excel spreadsheets, but we transferred them onto a cloud automated software.
Okay.
But what they did was they had partial exemptions. It's a part of their VAT return calculation. So obviously the full end-to-end system would allow them to scan their documents through into the cloud accounting app and be able to produce their VAT returns in there. The VAT return calculation will be then done outside of that cloud app. We'll do the partial exemption adjustment, move it back into the cloud software, push it through to HMRC. So very, very little manual intervention. So we'd have documents going in, HMRC getting the digital records.
They're still getting it basically.
Yeah, and we sort of managed to set this up for the client. Within a week, training was given, support is given on an ad hoc basis as and when they want it. They've got a little button they can click to say, well, can we have some support? And it's all cloud and it's all MTD compatible.
Okay, so I mean, obviously that applies to UK companies, but what happens if you're sort of an international company, or you have a franchise, or you know, maybe you have purchases in the UK? I mean, obviously then you're still eligible to pay UK VAT. So how does this work under that circumstance?
Oh, as you mentioned, obviously if you're paying UK VAT, you have to comply with UK VAT rules. So you would have to have sort of compliance software here in the UK. Obviously, if you're using reporting elsewhere in Europe or in the US, obviously you would need to do that as well, but you still have to have compliance software here in the UK.
Okay, so no matter what, if you're doing any sort of business in the UK, you need to follow these rules.
Yeah.
You can't just go, oh well, our VAT is accounted for, or our taxation is accounted for, I don't know, in the US or something.
Yeah.
You might have to do that as well, but you still have to comply with
Still
the UK.
have to do here, whether it be through a HMRC software provider that's been approved or the bridging software.
Okay, so it applies to everybody doing business in the UK.
Everyone over the VAT threshold.
Over the VAT threshold, of course. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay. So this slide obviously deals with VAT groups. Obviously, a number of businesses where they're all sort of like split out. So in a number of different sort of areas. So VAT groups pulled together. Again, Excel spreadsheets, software. They all need to comply and come into one designated spreadsheet where the VAT is then calculated. And this is again where that digital link is coming from. So you might have 3 or 4 different options. Part of the VAT group comes into a designated spreadsheet, into the bridging software, and out to HMRC.
Okay. So it's the same no matter what your structure is.
Yeah.
You just have to get everything to go to one central place and then send it all. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, who you're doing it with, how many. I mean, when you say groups here, is this groups of companies or just groups of like? So for instance, somebody is I don't know, importing. So there's a certain VAT rate on whatever they're importing, and then they're selling services. So there's the standard VAT rate attached to that. Is that what you're talking about, or is it?
Well,
groups of
it's
companies?
that and groups of companies. It could be a whole mixture of things. But again, like you say, it all needs to then funnel into one central spreadsheet, then into one central bridging software.
But surely, I mean, do you really come across companies that are that big and complicated that are still working off an Excel spreadsheet?
Some are, yeah.
I'm actually quite flabbergasted by that.
Again, it's because they've not had to think about doing anything else. That's the way they've done it.
This is the way we've always done it. Okay. Change is being forced, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's good, particularly for a company that size.
Yeah.
You know, you want transparency. You want to see where companies are doing.
Again, and like you say, automation, ways to improve the sort of the efficiencies internally as well. All these kind of things can help pick up pinch points that go, right, okay, that's an issue. How can we change that? And there is definitely ways around purchase invoicing, the way we process purchase invoices. We're finding that we can sort of save clients 3-4 hours a day. Just the number of invoices they're doing if you automate it and use digital scanning software and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Which again leads into being HMRC compliant because it's a digital record.
Okay, so it just kind of speeds everything up, really, doesn't
exactly,
it?
Exactly, yeah.
For the company and for HMRC.
Yep, and those working internally in the company as well.
Well, that's what I mean for the company. I mean, and if you can get any more productivity out of people, because salaries are expensive, let's face it, then this is a really good thing, really.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So, sort of moving on from what we what we mentioned earlier about being part of a VAT group, this is just a slide that sort of explains how we then have been talking with a charity that had a trading subsidiary, which was then obviously part of a VAT group, but would have to submit one return. Okay, so again, they were using Sage 200 desktop, which is no longer compliant. People think most software is compliant, it's not. That's why we sort of have a slide later on that shows the link to the HMRC approved suppliers. Sage 200 wasn't. They did a lot of manual records, so we actually then sort of looked at what software they could use. We identified one called Twinfield, which allowed them to report as a consolidated group. And from that, we could then, via an API and a digitally linked spreadsheet, push that through the whole VAT return.
Okay. Was that very complicated to set up?
Not really. No, it was a case of sort of understanding how everything works and how everything pulled together. So you began, obviously, you talk to the business, you talk to the people that are doing the work, identify how they're doing it, and think, right, okay, let's take a step back. Or how can we move this onto a digital platform? So again, it's just having a discussion. It's, yeah. It's,
okay.
You, again.
And so did you say, how long did it take?
It just took about a week as well.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Not so bad?
No.
Okay.
No, once we sort of got into it, it was fairly straightforward. It was just understanding the principles of how they used all their various bits of software.
Okay.
So yeah, again,
all right.
very easy.
Case by case basis, really,
yes.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So obviously we talked about MTD and the change, the impact on businesses and the impact on you. It's what the businesses should be thinking about, what clients and the people watching this should be thinking about as well. What we ask is that review your system, review its capability, have a look at the HMRC software list, which is shown on this slide, ensure that it's compatible. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm using Sage.
So you have a hyperlink there?
We have a hyperlink
okay.
here.
All right, so you might just need to pull out that hyperlink because people are watching a video.
Okay. So yeah, if you go onto HMRC website, type in compatible, VAT compatible,
okay,
the list will come up.
It'll come, and that's being, as people are becoming compliant or software systems, it's updated on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess if you have a software system that is not on this list, talk to your software provider. Yeah,
and find out what their plans are. They may be working with HMRC.
Yeah, you may not need to change what you're doing. You just maybe need to implement some, I don't know, update that they're doing, some plugin to make their software work with that. So if you don't have something on that list, just go check that out and do it fast, because they may need time to move things out. It may not have been on their list of updates that they wanted to do. It should be, but it may not be.
It may not be.
People surprise me.
So make sure that just talk, like you say, talk about it, talk to the suppliers, talk to your accountants, make sure, am I being compatible?
Right.
And we're going to be okay. And there might be the potential that they need to migrate to a new system. It might be that it's more beneficial and quicker to move. Obviously, we talked about complex VAT schemes, partial exemptions, that kind of thing. Consider that as well, because it might be that you can continue doing what you're doing, but then use the bridging software. Don't need to go into a full cloud operation yet. But again, it might be that it might be more beneficial in the long run to go to a migrated software. And like we said, do you need to be VAT registered? There are some clients that are VAT registered that maybe don't need to be. And again, just consider it. They may want to sort of deregister.
Okay.
But
that's going to be a relatively small number of people.
Yeah, that's not that. Again, that's going to be the sort of the minimum.
The aim is to get yourself, your income, to a point where you are VAT registered, right?
Yes. So
things are going well.
Again, so compatible systems. Standard cloud-based ones like we talked about, Xero, QuickBooks, they are on that approved list, and here at More Stevens we use them quite a lot. We sort of find they work very, very well. Sage, their current version of Sage will always be compatible, but again that means
as long as it's not Sage 200, as long as the online type version.
Yeah, and again they obviously bring in their license costs and stuff like that. So again, you need to factor in that you need to be constantly keeping up to date with that.
Okay.
But there are a whole host of other things as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. You've kind of talked about this, really, haven't you?
I guess that pretty much covered this one off, didn't we? So again, have a review of your systems, understand what you're doing, but how your records are currently being done. Are you being compliant? Again, there might be things that sort of like people listening to this will think, right, okay, well maybe we can sort of start to change and implement new ways of doing things to become more automated, more sort of cut out those manual transactions.
Okay, well that's a good idea anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, with a lot of companies here, I mean, most people should be able to make this deadline, assuming they watch this video and they're aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens if, let's say, we get to April next year, you either didn't know about it or you haven't organised yourself, you know, in time?
Yeah.
What happens if you're not compliant?
Right. Okay. Well, again, slightly sort of grey area at the moment with HMRC. What they have said is that there will be some penalties. There will be a sort of points-based system.
Are they severe?
They said that there will be a soft landing period for the first year. So, but they haven't said, but it will be on a points-based system. So if you're failing to submit a VAT return, then you probably won't be as severely punished as you would be if you've not done anything to instigate this change.
Right.
Okay. So if you've made no effort to change to become digital, then the penalties are going to be more severe than maybe just missing a return or missing a payment.
Okay.
So yeah, it's still,
and they're fairly severe if already if you miss a payment or
Yeah.
if you don't file on time. They're
Yeah.
very straight away, like, right, bone, this percentage of your VAT invoice, you're in trouble. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? So that,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, it's not worth getting caught out by this.
No, I think that's why we're sort of making people aware of it now. There is still time.
Yeah.
Okay, there's probably a lesser, I think we sort of looked at it the other day, there's less than 130 business days left to make this transition.
But you're saying 5 days will sort most people out on
Yeah,
this,
exactly.
right?
Yes, but if 40,
So we're all right.
But if 40% of small businesses haven't done anything yet, then
Yeah, well, I
that's
think
a
the
lot of
more
businesses.
this information comes out, and I guarantee you, we will be spreading the word, you know, on this one for exactly that reason, that we know a lot of people don't know about this.
Yep.
Everybody's talking about Brexit, but actually, this is bigger.
Yeah. This is going to impact.
Well, not bigger, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, it's going to change a lot of companies and a lot of businesses.
Yeah, it changes how you do business, how you account for things. It does change everything, actually.
And change is good sometimes.
Yeah, change is good. Change is constant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on this slide, this is the option, the alternative that we have found from a More Stevens point of view. We have built
So is this your software?
This is our Stream portal. What Stream does is basically a window or a portal into the cloud apps that we support here.
Okay.
So we have document scanning tools, we have cloud accounting software, which is all again on the HMRC approved list, and we have management reporting tools as well. So where we were talking earlier about real-time information, management reporting, sharing management information with the business owners, the shareholders, those key decision makers. If we use all these tools, we are able to do that quite quickly and quite easily. We can go from a management report, and within a few clicks, we could actually drill down into the digital invoice itself. So it makes clients sort of being able to work on their businesses that much clearer. They know where they are on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so it's all basically available in one place.
Yeah, so this is our portal into the cloud apps.
And you have to be obviously a client of More Stevens to use this one.
Yes, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, once you sort of use our Stream portal, these are the packages that we offer, and within that window, as you can see here, what we've sort of said is that we have document management tools, the likes of Base Vendor Receipt Bank, which are well known, document scanning, OCR. Again, they then they can push directly into the accounting software, so your Xeros, your QuickBooks, those kind of things, and then from there you can then push it through to management reporting tools, so the likes of Azora. What we also did, by using cloud apps, using all this technology, we can have bank feeds, we can offer credit control applications that link to your accounting software.
Okay.
So again, you could automate your debt collection, your credit control app function. So you think about some businesses that have got issues with this. That's
there's
someone's
good
full-time
spin-offs
job.
on this type of thing, isn't
Exactly, and again, like we said, everything links to online banking. You can link to banking platforms. There are a whole host of things that can be digitally managed within a business using all these apps. Timesheets, expenses, mileage even, for example. You can use a mobile app, track reps mileage and that kind of thing.
Well, because that's a big, that you know, mileage and tracking and, you know, what miles were business and what were pleasure and those kind of thing. It's a big thing, really, isn't it? It's complicated to really keep track of.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is obviously talking to clients about being MTD compliant. Once you start talking about these applications, and you start talking about the benefits of it, there are other aspects that probably become more key to those businesses, those clients, and they go, oh, that will be really useful. But it hasn't. It's led from the accounting software in this transition.
Okay.
But
so I guess really the point is that this is an opportunity to review how you do everything and see not just VAT. Okay, yes, we have to automate that, but what else can you automate?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is back to what we're always shouting at, not shouting, but encouraging people to go. You must automate because it just makes life an awful lot easier.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Very good.
Okay, so as I've mentioned earlier, that it's not a daunting task. It sounds scary, but it's not. Hopefully,
bringing everybody into the 21st century, really,
exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So we found with clients that the transition is quite easy to move from a desktop-based solution. So those using desktop Sage, old versions of Sage can migrate to a cloud-based solution, whether it be Xero, whether it be QuickBooks. We can do that here at Moore Stephens for the client very much within half a day. We can do that migration for them. We're able to move 2 years worth of data from their old software for free.
Well, hang on, you probably need a lot more data than just 2 years, right?
Yeah, we can move 2 years worth of data for free into their new software. So
for free. I see what you mean.
Whether it be into Xero to QuickBooks.
George, you're looking for 7 though, right?
What we do say to clients is obviously you still need to keep that Sage data for 7 years, okay, just to retain it, obviously for HMRC purposes.
Yeah.
But as the years roll on, there'll be no need. Again, your data would be there for the 2 years previous.
Okay.
So yeah, keep Sage or whatever desktop solution you're using, but we can migrate certain amounts of data for free.
Okay.
Okay. And then what we will then do is we can then upload things like chart of accounts. Again, sort of clients that are using a specific sort of chart or a list of client codes or numbers, we can migrate that in. That's not a problem. You can carry on using those same codes. And the license fees as well, sort of people sort of go, oh, it's going to cost me a lot. The monthly fees, you pay monthly for the cloud-based software rather than a large upfront license fees for some softwares. It's not as expensive as you look, again, as you think. We can talk to clients, we can explain it to them.
Have you different levels for the sizes of company, or?
No, it's all based on the sort of the software that you go with. Xero, QuickBooks.
Right, so it's kind of like a plug-in, like a Zoho type of thing.
Yeah.
If you use all of it, it's that much. Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
And there are certain aspects that change. But like we say, all the software that we do here at Moore Stephens, all the cloud-based software, is on the HMRC approved list. So that's where we're sort of
it will. The point is, you've peace of mind that it will be compliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And what we do say to clients is, let's have a conversation, let's have a chat. We'll do an initial first review of your software, of your processes. We'll give you an hour's free consultation, and we'll have a chat. And then if they want to go forward, then we'll have another chat after that.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, good to know. Contact us. Like, there we are. Armin is there and Mark is there. So there you go. So if you guys want more information, because there was quite a lot within this webinar actually, and if you're worried or confused or need any questions answered, please do get through to Armin and to Mark, who'll be able to help you. If for some reason that's not enough, they will be on our platform under the experts section, and you're not, I don't think, a part of the members directory just yet, but we will encourage you to do that. So there you have it. So look, any information that you need, please just go ahead and do this. Give yourself the time that you need to be able to change your systems around to accommodate for this. Don't leave it to the last minute. Like everything, like end of year tax returns, don't do that. It's just not worth the stress. You have an opportunity now to change things over. Give yourself a few months to get used to the new systems, test it out, make sure that your staff are fully versed on what's actually coming up here and that everybody's on the right page. What you don't want to do is to make a big mistake and then have to correct it, because I'd imagine that's going to be a bit of a nightmare, and HMRC will not appreciate that.
No.
Particularly if you're talking about, you know, fees and penalties and things like that. Just don't do it. It's just much easier to get the system in place, and then you don't have to worry about it. So please do that, whether you're big, middle, small. It applies to everybody who's VAT registered. So please go ahead and do that. Is that fair enough?
That's a very good point. Yeah, no, it's fine. Make the change now.
Make the change now. Make the change now. Yeah. Okay, very good. So Mark, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for scaring us and then making life better again, because it wasn't so bad after all.
Well, no, hopefully. At the end of it, everything's sort of over and go, not as bad as I thought.
Not as bad as, but take action now. That's really the message.
That's the message,
That take action now. Well, look, Mark, thank you so much for your time.
No
thank you for doing this webinar. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks, bye.